Welcome to the Blue Chip Scouting live stream. It's Jared Feinberg and Nick Price of BlueChipScouting.com, and we are here to give you a little reaction of, just what's happened over the last couple of days with free agency. Today is officially the first day of the 2021 NFL season. Nick, it's been a crazy couple of days. Where do you want to get started, man?
I don't know. Let's kind of go right off the top here and talk about this Curtis Samuel news. I feel like that's kind of the biggest sign that's happened within the last hour or so. Curtis Samuel has been signed to, I believe, a 3-year deal to the Washington football team. He gets to join his former college teammate Terry McLaurin, and he's back with Ron Rivera. So it's all around good fit for everyone involved.
Yeah, man. I listen, as a Panthers fan, I'm happy for Curtis Samuel. He was a great playmaker for us. Broke out last year as a really true versatile chess piece on offense, and him going Scott Turner. It's good to see him finally getting that opportunity to become a true number 2 wide receiver in an NFL offense. Him matched up with Terry or alongside former teammate of his at Ohio State, Terry McLaurin. Both of them came from the same recruiting class. Them being back together and them like getting the opportunity to really just ball out and break out and onto the scene, it's going to be fun to watch next season. Washington is going to be a team to watch next season.
Yes, definitely.
Crazy football team.
Yes, I believe they also signed William Jackson III yesterday to a somewhat similar contract. Yeah. That defense in Washington is shaping to be pretty good. They just fixed the linebacker position.
Yeah,
it's over. Definitely.
I think linebacker should be top priority for the Washington football team. If they're able to get Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah at 19, oh man.
Yeah. Well, not even that. Not even just him. You could argue that they could go quarterback in round 1. I personally wouldn't draft someone like Mac Jones at 19 or 20, whichever pick they have. But even then, they can even go in round 2, get someone like Jabril Cox, Cameron McGrone, one of those guys that could fill that need easily.
Tomorrow we're going to have some crazy additions, and guess who just decided to join us?
What up? I promise this was not coordinated. I didn't know that y'all was wearing hats, dude.
we just decided, let's just go ahead and wear hats.
Men with hats.
Men with hats.
Yeah. Analysts with hats. Let's go.
What I meant.
We were just talking about Curtis Samuel, his addition to Washington's roster, William Jackson, his addition to Washington's roster, and then I was just mentioning that Nick and I were just mentioning, if they're able to add a linebacker to that group, a really solid, good linebacker to that group, that's probably the best defense in football, without a doubt.
Yeah, do you know how much that pains me? There's a special reason I had to. Because it's the only thing that's positive right now about my team.
Yeah. Hate to see it.
Harbs always talks about how the Arizona Cardinals are his second favorite team. I'm inclined to agree at this point. There has not been a lot to be happy about with the Eagles the last calendar year.
It's sad, man, just seeing, hold on, breaking news coming from Ian Rappaport. The Patriots are bringing back Kyle Van Noy.
Wow.
Dude, the Patriots
I'm back.
are pissed. They are pissed.
Yeah, that's a pissed-off signing.
I called it.
You did call it.
I did
call it.
Two ones that I knew as soon as they were going to happen. I knew that they were going to be all. Sorry, my cat has decided to enter the office. So, Yeah, oh yeah. I knew Kyle Van Noy was going to be looked at by any team that runs a Patriots-esque defense, and of course he had success with the Patriots, so it makes sense that he would go back. The other one, and I ran this by our friend Connor Rogers. I knew nothing about the Corey Davis signing. Hadn't read anything when I wrote that article. Got released 3 hours before, and then it came through. That one was one I was proud of because that was just a dart throw. This one was This one Stevie Wonder could have seen coming.
Not my man Stevie Wonder. Come on, man. Man, we're going to get banned for that.
Fine. We'll make it a little easier. This one could have seen that move coming.
True. Very true. Let's talk about Patrick Peterson real quick. You know, I was kind of like, as a Panthers fan, was hoping
on our guy Tyler Fornes. How's he doing?
He sounds stoked. I mean, really stoked. Well, here's the thing. For the folks that don't know, Patrick Peterson, he is officially a Minnesota Viking. 1-year deal, $10 million. Not too bad. Still waiting on the Kyle Van Noy contract details. That should come out here any second. But what are your thoughts on Patrick Peterson heading to the great state of Minnesota?
Nick, I'll let you go first.
All right. I kind of like it. They've been kind of like recently, like Minnesota's been kind of throwing a lot of like, you know, early draft picks at the corner, and they kind of had like mixed results so far. It's kind of been up and down. I mean, Mike Hughes has had injury issues. Gladdy, from what I understand, played okay last year, and Cameron Dance kind of get the same thing from Cameron Dantzler. So I think it's good to have that kind of veteran presence in there. I mean, will I sit here and say that, you know, that it'll be a slam dunk, you know, signing? No, but am I confident for Minnesota? Yeah.
Sorry, boys, just trying to get the link out.
No worries.
Ahead,
when
Mike.
It comes to this signing, I'm a little surprised it was Minnesota. I had thought that Peterson was either going to go ring chasing or he was going to go with a big, like whoever was willing to pay him a big payday. Like I could have seen the Cowboys going, here's $15 million to be Patrick Peterson because it's Jerry Jones and he loves to have those big name potential future Hall of Famers brought in through free agency. So that wouldn't have surprised me if it was a team like the Cowboys. It shocks me a little bit that it's the Vikings because I don't think they're ready to compete, at least not for like a Super Bowl, maybe to the playoffs. So it's a bit of a shock there. I don't know. Unless they're looking at, Zimmer's looking at him as like, hey, just come be a mentor for Dantzler, and they need to get something out of Mike Hughes because that pick's looking worse and worse each year.
Which is a shame, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Nick, you remember my days on YouTube. You know I liked Mike Hughes coming out.
Yes, I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I didn't do those.
My thoughts on the Patrick Peterson trade is they're getting a veteran cornerback who's still playing at somewhat of a high level. He's not the elite player he was, a couple years ago, but he is still a good football player, and he can be a good mentor for Gaulney, Dantzler, Hughes. That's a young group of corners that
I forgot Jeff Gladney. My apologies. I feel bad because y'all know
you forgot about my guy.
I forgot about my guy too. He was my guy.
I compared him to Jari Alexander, and I hope that turns out to be the case because if not, that's a big miss on my part. But hey, guess what? We got a special announcement. You guys have probably already seen it on Twitter. The new Blue Chip Scouting logo.
It's just gorgeous.
Yes, even Mike's cat likes it.
Yeah, you can hear him, can't you?
Yes.
He's purring.
Oh, yeah.
Relax.
Yeah. This is the same cat. For those who listen to the Big Shots podcast, this is Titan. This is the one that's usually knocking shit over in the background. Hi, Titan.
Shout out to the Big Shots podcast. And also shout out to my own podcast, the Draft Nut Podcast. If you guys have not listened to the podcast yet, go out and
Legit,
go on
man. I'm
iTunes,
I'm
Spotify.
jealous of that logo that you got, because I'll
It's a
tell
sick
you,
logo.
I threw ours together in 10 minutes. I'm not gonna lie. Like I think I was talking with Nick while I was designing that logo. I was like, I'd go with this one or this one. They both took me 10 minutes.
Yeah, Devin helped me out with the logo. Like when we first started, I was like, didn't know really what to expect, and now we've gone on and we're well past half a year of the Draft Nut Podcast, which I've been very proud of running.
Yeah, we're on a year of ours because we did a name change.
That's right. That's right. You guys were like a Big Ten podcast of some
Don't
sort.
Remind me. Try doing a Big Ten podcast and only being able to talk about Big Ten prospects.
That must have sucked so much.
Yeah, that's why I'm not with that particular site anymore. It's okay. Not a lot are. Shots fired. So, anyways, let's get back on topic.
Yeah, let's do that. Hey, what are some moves you guys have liked over the last few days besides some of the moves we have just mentioned? I know, well, first, I think we need to get on some of the recent signings. Kyle Van Noy returning to New England and Rashard Higgins heading back to Cleveland. So what do you guys think about those two signings?
Well, we talked about the Van Noy. I thought this one was kind of obvious. The Rashard Higgins one, what was his market going to be? Like, I don't think he was going to have this expensive, like expanding market. We would have probably seen like maybe 2 or 3 other teams. Why not just stick with, with the team that's worked for him?
Yeah,
man.
Sorry. I'll say this much: like
go ahead.
For all the Donovan Peoples-Jones stands who thought he was going to be number 3 this year for Cleveland, it's kind of like all their hopes and dreams have been crushed. But I mean, I think it's positive. I think it's a good thing, keeping that kind of some consistency around Baker. Kind of bring back the good bit of the team you had last year when they made the playoffs for the first time in forever. So I think that's a good. But I don't know. I'm kind of with Mike. Like, I'm not sure what Higgins' market would have been outside of Cleveland. I mean, perhaps. I mean, even speaking for my Baltimore Ravens, would they probably have gotten desperate enough to sign Higgins? Maybe, I don't know. Certainly beats having Miles Boykin play receiver for another year. So, But anyway,
I think Higgins, you need that consistency and chemistry for Baker Mayfield, but I feel like the Browns really need some speed at wide receiver. They have Odell Beckham Jr. coming back. Unless he's traded somehow over the next few weeks, over the next few months. I mean, who knows? We don't know what the future's like for OBJ. But right now, let's just say he's going to be a Cleveland Brown for the 2021 season. You get him, that's some speed on the roster. Where else is that speed going to come from? Donovan Peoples-Jones, is he going to come onto the scene as a big-time contributor for the Browns offense? Especially if they're going to move away from Kareem Hunt, or they're going to try to shop Kareem Hunt. I think drafting speed at the wide receiver position should be a priority for the Browns, and even for free agency, even for right now, they should try to go after some speed at the wide receiver position. But I know they need money for the draft class and maybe even future signings down the road. So they're probably going to maybe hold off a little bit. So I want to talk about my Panthers, their signings. It's been a busy day for Carolina. They've made some very unique signings, I would say. Signings that made this defense better. Just looking at the guys they have signed today. Morgan Fox, I'll start with him. He was originally with Los Angeles. He was a good rotational pass rusher in the interior of that defensive line for Los Angeles, the Rams. He signed a 2-year, $8.5 million deal with the Carolina Panthers to add depth and a little bit of some rotation to that interior defensive line. Denzel Perryman, 2-year deal with the Carolina Panthers. He's a great run defender, just fills gaps, high motor, just explosive player downhill. I'm excited to see him in black and blue. I think he's going to be a good linebacker for the Carolina Panthers, at least for the next couple of years. But it'll be interesting to see how they deal with that linebacker group, since you got Shaq Thompson, Denzel Perryman, and also Jermaine Carter. And then the biggest one of all, Hassan Reddick, coming to the Carolina Panthers on a 1-year, $1 million deal. Here's the thing. I with Reddick, I was like, he's been kind of a favorite of sorts, as a potential signing for Carolina. But I was like, it's never going to happen. Reddick's probably going to be wanting a bigger deal elsewhere. He decides to take a 1-year prove-it deal, $8 million, $6 million guaranteed with the Carolina Panthers. And now you look at that pass rush and you're like, wow, Brian Burns, Hassan Reddick, Yetur Gross-Matos, who's continuing to develop as a really solid pass rusher, who I think can develop into a great pass rusher one day. Derek Brown in the interior, Braven Roy, and now you got Morgan Fox. The Panthers are starting to get good depth and pass rushers on that front, on that defensive front for Carolina. I'm excited to see it this upcoming season. I think that's going to be one of the strengths again this season, is the Panthers front four with Burns, Gross-Matos, Reddick, Brown, Roy. I mean, it looks like a good group in the making. I tweeted out earlier, just think of a defensive line on third down. You're the opposing team. You're facing a Panthers defense at 5 techniques or in wide 9 techniques of Hassan Reddick and Brian Burns, Gross-Matos at 3 tech potentially, and Derek Brown at the 1 tech or 3 tech. I'm like, whew, that's a
fierce.
Nasty pass rush. That's going to be fun to watch. So I want to know what you guys think of the moves. What do you think of my Panthers getting some pretty solid players, including Hassan Reddick?
Quarterback away from being a playoff team, man.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all.
Trade up for Justin Fields, baby.
And at this point, with where they are, like, if they had been able to get Reddick on a multi-year deal, that would have made me a little bit more excited for their future. Just because, I mean, I'm sorry. I know Brady just signed like a 4-year extension. I doubt very highly he plays till he's 46 or 47 or whatever that would end up being. I mean, it also wouldn't shock me if he did. But Matt Ryan's going to be leaving soon.
I was talking to Mark Schofield on the podcast the other day, last Friday. I don't know if you guys have listened to it. It's about an hour and a half of QB talk. And he and I, when we found out the moment it happened, we both were hysterical about the move. We were cracking our ass up. And Mark was like, this dude could play until he's 50.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to find some sort of motivation to play to 50. Like, he's just that type of player. And he's probably going to do it on like a 3rd or 4th team at that point, because he's just that guy.
Yeah,
it's not fair. It's not fair at all. So,
but yeah, like I was saying, Matt Ryan's probably going to be retiring in the next year or two. The Saints are a mess at quarterback. I mean, it's either Jameis or it's a fullback in Taysom Hill, the league's highest paid fullback in history. But if they figure out the quarterback and they have that just gigantic, massive, holy crap coming at you on defense, then I'd be a lot more excited. But with this being a 1 year and you could possibly lose Hassan Reddick to free agency next year, I just don't know yet. They just need to figure out the quarterback spot. My favorite, listen, I know we gave them a lot of crap the other day. They didn't want they didn't want to bring in Joe Tooney because of the expensive contract. And yeah, $16 million a year for a guard is ridiculous. And they let Carl Lawson walk out the door for the ability to sign Trey Hendrickson to a even more expensive deal. I like what Cincinnati's done in the secondary. I like bringing in Chidobe Awuzie. Yeah. I think that a change of scenery from Dallas is exactly what he needs. I just like Chidobe Awuzie as a person. I think he's amazing. I've had interactions with Chidobe Awuzie over things like, getting my fat ass moving after COVID, after quarantine and putting on weight. And he's just such a fun dude. I think the city of Cincinnati is going to love him. And then is it Mike Hilton?
Mike Hilton.
I always wanted to say Hinton for some reason. Kendall Hinton, I think, was on my mind. But yeah, getting Mike Hilton as well from a division rival in Pittsburgh, 4 years, 24, 8.5 guaranteed in the first year. Everything after that, you can just kind of see as it goes. Yeah, the Bengals are notoriously cheap. We've known this for years. It definitely was a feature in the franchise blueprint article on them, but man, they actually were willing to shell out the money. Now, do they need a help on the offensive line? Yeah, absolutely. They have Jonah Williams and a bunch of turnstiles. Perhaps you should have done something to actually get some offensive line help. Unless your plan is literally just to go, offensive line every single pick.
Which I would advocate. I would advocate,
but then you have four rookies starting together, which is not going to be a good combination anyways.
Cincinnati's got to they need to make offensive line top priority right now. I don't care if you put in solid trade for someone, please, or I don't know, just get someone to protect.
The top offensive tackle that's out there on the board, that's out there on the market is Orlando Brown, and they're not trading with Cincinnati.
Yeah, I wouldn't condone that.
Yeah,
do they make a run at Eric Fisher or Mitchell Schwartz?
Are either of them willing to go to Cincinnati, having just been with the Super Bowl team?
Go after Schwartz. Go after Mitchell Schwartz. He's so good. Go after him.
So that's the thing.
Draft him and you're set at tackle. You move Jonah Williams inside the guard. You're set. That's better in offensive line than it was a year ago. You're set then. Go after him. It's that simple.
Trey Turner's also out there too.
Yeah,
at guard. Yeah.
You bring Trey Turner. It's right there in front of him. Right there in front of them. Just make the moves now while you can. Protect your star quarterback. Is that simple?
But here's the thing: is that the Bengals also don't trade for people. They never do, and since they don't trade for anyone, the Bengals are the easiest team to know what they have going into every year. They have a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, and a 7. They don't move. They've never traded up, ever. And they very rarely, if ever, trade down. Yeah, they just stay where they are. And the only time they trade someone is when it's like Carlos Dunlap saying, "Hey, who wants my house?"
No one.
No one.
I really do hope the Bengals get this draft right for Joe Burrow.
They're going to waste him. They're going to waste him. That franchise is cursed. That franchise is absolutely cursed because, they have let's put it this way, guys. The last time they won a playoff game was 1991.
I wasn't born then.
No, I wasn't born yet. I think the only person at Blue Chip that was born then was Fornes.
Yes.
They're up there with the Lions. Actually, it might even be 1990. Might even be 1990. I think we've actually hit 30 years since they won a playoff game. I should know this. I just wrote about it, but
I don't know.
Having to write about 17 teams in the span of 23 days just killed me. Any other moves that I'm looking at that I really, really like? Honestly, I'm still waiting for the market to kind of be like. I should mention this: the Jacksonville Jaguars snagging Marvin Jones.
That's a good one.
This is a guy that should have been getting $10 million a year.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He's getting half of what Nelson Aguilar got.
Mm-hmm.
Which every time one of these, here's the thing. I spent the entire day watching NFL Network, and to hear them constantly talk about how the Patriots have won, won the offseason so far and have brought in all of these quality players. And Maurice Jones-Drew is telling everyone that'll listen that the Patriots are the front runners in the AFC East. Like, are they seeing the same moves that we are? Because last I checked, Nelson Aguilar isn't a $13 million a season player. Last I checked, Jonnu Smith isn't a $12 million a year tight end. And then they completely made him irrelevant by signing a player at the same position for even more money. Like, Kyle Krabs mentioned it on the draft dude.
And the bad player too.
Yeah, they signed a tier 2 tight end to tier 1 money. And then they signed a tier 3 tight end to also tier 1 money. They completely canceled each other out. They drafted 2 players at tight end last year. Free agency for you, Mike. Wow. Every time someone is named Trent, I immediately go Trent Richardson. Trent Brown. There's a reason he was available for a trade. There's a reason they give up a 7th rounder for him. It didn't work in Oakland. It didn't work before he got to New England. They get these guys that are scheme dependent. It can only fit in New England. That's why Kyle Van Noy is back. It's because he never left that system. He's never played in a system outside of the Belichick way.
Speaking of Kyle Van Noy, details of the contract have come out, just like the basic stuff. 2-year deal, $13.2 million.
Not bad. That's probably their best contract they've given.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably.
I mean,
like, hang on. I okay. I like Kendrick Bourne. He's not $8 million a year. Trent Brown, we talked about. Ted Karras is an okay contract at $4 million. Dietrich Wise got $30 million.
That I don't get.
They're just trying to waste some money. They want to win the Super Bowl now. I'm like, with Cam Newton, I'm like,
you're not going to make the playoffs. This isn't a playoff team. The AFC is incredibly, and here's the thing. They're like, oh, well, they won 7 games last year with this roster, and they've got guys coming back from opting out. Yeah, that haven't played in a year. And then you've brought in all these extra guys. These teams that go out and spend incredible amounts of money in free agency almost never gel right away. I should know. I remember the Philadelphia Eagles dream team. All right, I remember having my backup quarterback.
I wasn't watching
say
football.
That it was a dream team. I didn't hear what you said.
I wasn't watching football then. I didn't start watching football until 2010, probably when I was 8, 9.
I always forget how young
10.
you are. But yeah, I remember hearing the backup quarterback go, "Oh, it's a dream team. You got me, and you got Nnamdi Asomugha. You got I can't remember who else they brought in, but it's like these players didn't matter. They all canceled each other because they couldn't gel well. And the Patriots are just like, here's an average player, but we're going to pay him top market value. It's like, there's a reason why Kenny Golladay is still available is because he's going, well, if Aguilar is worth 13, flip those numbers and then we can talk. Because he's 3 times the player.
Well, also, it seems kind of redundant since you just signed Matt Judon and you already have Chase Winovich, so it just seems a little bit redundant anyway.
Oh, you know who else they have? They also have Josh Uche, who you can use.
Oh, yeah.
They have Josh Uche, who does the Kellen role. What are they doing?
Here's the thing. They have now a really solid pass rush. Rotation, at least. A good rotation.
Well, they always do. They always do.
It's a better rotation than a year ago. That's for sure. And they also signed Ted Karras from Miami.
Great. So you weakened a couple of division rivals, and Ted Karras. When I had Dante on the podcast, he didn't want Ted Karras back anyway. So,
I mean, they don't have David Andrews anymore. Guess who just joined the podcast? Or not the podcast, the live stream. Excuse me.
Is it?
Our good friend Tyler Ford. Tyler.
Gentlemen,
buddy.
Life is good. I want to ask you a question. Do you recognize this mask?
I'm blind.
Y'all don't recognize that mask, do you?
Mike, who is the mask?
Is that Rey Mysterio?
It is Rey Mysterio Jr.'s luchador mask. That is correct. So this is called Academy of Doom from a local brewery called Falling Knife.
I thought you were
Each-
just gonna actually find a way to segue that, but no, you're just like, yeah, I'm
Beers.
drinking beer. I'm like, yeah,
each
okay.
beer, each one, it's all the same beer, but there are 4 different can arts and 4 different luchadors, all legendary, and I'm really excited to drink it. But that's not why I'm here. We're here on this glorious day to talk about how great the Washington football team is.
Oh God, I might have to leave. I might have.
Look, I'm actually here to talk Pat Peterson, but I absolutely love
Well, we
what the
just
Washington
finished
football
shitting
team
on
is
the
doing.
Patriots for 10 minutes, so
They just signed Kyle Van Noy.
I know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
they
wasted-
also,
Mike doesn't
but
like
they
it.
also have
Mike
Chase.
doesn't like
They
it.
have Chase Winovich and Josh Uche to fill that same role.
Yeah,
I
and they're
don't
wasting
mind
Josh
it. I
Uche's
don't
career.
like the roster.
Yeah.
It's a better roster than a year ago, easily.
That's not saying much. And Maurice Jones-Drew is like, yeah, they're going to win the division, and they might
Look,
challenge
hey,
for a Super
hold on,
Bowl.
hold on. Maurice Jones-Drew and his analysis has been questionable since he started with NFL Network.
Also true.
I think that's inarguable. But
Anyone that's really gone on to NFL Network,
They've been kind of sus. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the
Except
former
for
players tend
Daniel
to not
Daniel
have
Jeremiah, legit.
I like
Jeremiah,
Steve Smith.
legit.
Oh yeah, Steve Smith's fun. Yeah.
Steve Smith is good. I really enjoyed Steve Mariucci
Really?
when he was there, giving that
Is he
kind of
not there
close
anymore?
perspective. I don't know if he is or not, but I know
He
I
is.
did
I
enjoy
think
him at
he
one
is.
point. Yeah.
I can't stand whenever
so,
Michael Irvin talks.
Let Tyler celebrate.
Yes.
Patrick
let's
Peterson,
talk
guys.
about
let's break it down. So 1 year, $10 million. Darren Wolfson, he's a local sports anchor in town. He's kind of like the Twin Cities insider. Was told no void years on the deal. So we're talking a $10 million cap hit this year. Pretty heavy for a team that going in today only had about 15 and a half. They spent about $1 million on reserve receiver Shad Beebe. So we're looking probably about $4 million. And that's before a possible Daniil Hunter extension, before a possible Harrison Smith extension as well. Pat Peterson, his last truly elite year was 2018. How much of that necessarily was injury? How much of it was slowing down? He's going to turn 31 in July. So we're not talking about a super old player, but it feels like he has peaked and he's slowly on the decline. What can Zimmer get out of him? Was he properly used the last 2 years in Arizona? Once that defensive system was kind of installed, I don't know. Zimmer is a defensive guru. He's always been a defensive backs guy. So if there's somebody who can get more out of him, I think that's fantastic, and I think this could be a really good fit. Now, here are my problems with it. One, this team is not ready to win now. This is a win now kind of signing. You give a guy that kind of money, and you need to win now. So what that tells me is Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer are fighting for their jobs. In Minnesota, we kind of thought that since the middle of last year. We thought Mike Zimmer might be gone at the end of the year with how things were going. The team fought. They scratched, they clawed. They had that 5-game winning streak, and they finished 7-9. Okay, it's frustrating to see them make these kind of moves because it's not really setting us up for the future. These are short-term moves that you use to win now. Kind of the running joke amongst us Vikings pundits is everybody thinks we're a guard away. 2018, we're a guard away from a Super Bowl. If you had that guard in 2017, maybe. Like, that's a genuine possibility because that team had a historic defense. Far and away the best ever in third down conversion percentage. They were allowing less than 1 out of 3. And the NFL record prior to that was, I think, 37%. So that's astounding, and you can't replicate that. You're going to see natural regression. They figured, we'll be able to duplicate it. No, you can't. That's historic. It's like asking the 85 Bears to do exactly what they did in 85. No, it's unattainable, and it's not fair to expect that. And to bring him in at that kind of deal when you have 2 big holes on the offensive line, the 3 technique you side is a run stopper, not even a pass rusher. You don't know if Daniil Hunter is going to be on your team next year. The edge opposite him is Stephen Weatherly, who's a good rotational player, but he's not great, and he's really not a guy you want starting for your football team. Anthony Barr now is a free agent after this season. You don't have a starting safety opposite Harrison Smith, unless Patrick Peterson's going to play safety, which I would be very intrigued by. It just feels like a misguided signing, and I think it's going to help immensely for Dantzler. It's going to help immensely for Gladney how to learn the ropes of the cornerback position. Yeah, absolutely. The things that Peterson can teach these guys will be invaluable for their development. And I truly think, my first instinct was, this is going to propel Cam Dantzler to be a potential All-Pro in 3 years. I love Cam Dantzler's game. His measurables don't necessarily stack up. You look at him, he's razor thin, but he was the only cornerback that was able to play with Jamar Chase on a down-for-down basis in 2019. And he flashed really well last year. He was just a smidge late, but he was always in the hip pocket. He was always there trying to make a play. So with experience, with that added knowledge, and you continue to grow him as a cornerback IQ-wise and as an athlete and just try and get him a little more fluid and a little bulkier, I think that could be massive for him. It also kind of pigeonholes Gladney in the slot if you're going to have Patrick Peterson as a true outside corner. So I don't necessarily love that because I don't want to force a guy inside until he proves he cannot make it on the outside, which rookie corner, you can't really buy too much into that. Unless it's Marshawn Lattimore, you're a rookie. You're going to stink. It's just kind of a fact of life. The farther away from the ball you are, the harder it is to play early on. It's a very interesting signing for the Minnesota Vikings, but it just feels like it's one out of desperation. Doesn't feel like this team really has a plan. It's just two guys trying to save their jobs, and quite frankly, it stinks.
Minnesota's just stuck. Simple as that. And there's a chance that Delaney Hunter could get traded. There's a possibility of that happening.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So it's, dare I say, stink for Sam Howell.
I'm not sold on Sam Howell, but honestly, I'm not sold on any of these 2022 quarterbacks yet.
We are getting way ahead of ourselves if we're talking 2022.
Yeah,
let's be entirely honest.
Hey, sometimes we get bored, you know. If we're
I already have the spreadsheet made up. Don't worry. But
I don't even have a spreadsheet ready. I'm that's how far.
I'm already looking at pass rushers to simp for. So yeah, I'm with Michael on this one.
Hey, Nick, Brenton Cox Jr., Florida. Put him on your list.
All right, no. Listen, guys, what you fail to realize, these guys have been on my list since like August. I've been thinking about him like every single day for every single week for the past, however many months.
Well,
I'm far ahead of you.
Baltimore is going to need their next guy to replace whoever the next rotational pass rusher that ends up to go on and get a $50 million contract is, because that's what Baltimore does.
Listen, if Jalen Ferguson gets a second contract from somebody, I don't know. I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Hey, in all fairness, Matt Judon really didn't come on big time until his third or fourth year.
Yeah, and even then he had like 9 sacks and still made the Pro Bowl. So
the Ravens just find good pass rushers late in the draft. That's just it's what they do.
And then
they become really good for other teams.
Yeah, then you get a third-round comp pick, and that's where the meat and potatoes of a lot of teams are. Like, people laugh at the Rams for the fact they don't have first-round picks. Guess what? They got 2 picks in the compensatory third round this year. Next year, they're probably going to have another couple picks. Like, it really stinks to not have those high picks, but when you have these stars and you're paying them like stars, and you have those compensatory picks to help continue to rebuild your roster, it makes a difference. You have to hit on picks that only have around a 30% conversion rate. That's what's tough.
I wanted to switch gears for a second because I know we haven't talked about it on this stream, and I want to get Tyler's 2 cents on this as well. What the hell are the Raiders doing?
Oh my God!
I can answer that.
Whatever they feel like.
It's ownership. They're cash short.
I know. I know that they're strapped for cash. I'm aware. That move and the stadium was financed entirely by a loan.
Yeah. So the Raiders have always been a cash kind of strapped franchise because, to be honest, I don't know what other ventures Mark Davis has outside of the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't think he has anything.
Doesn't.
And you talk about the Vikings owner, Ziggy Wilf, that he's a real estate mogul from New Jersey. They have other ventures. Like the whole point of building US Bank Stadium and TCO was real estate development. And those little details make a big difference, because if your team, that business becomes cash strapped, you can pull from other things because you have those assets available to you.
Like the Raiders are broke. They're flat broke. And it doesn't help that, you also have so much committed money. I think it's $66 million is still left on Gruden's contract.
Yeah.
And Derek Carr's contract.
Derek Carr's contract, I think, expires after this year.
Next year.
Oh.
Yeah.
But they can get out of it for like nothing next year.
Yeah, it's literally like a $2 million cap hit.
They got to. I mean, Las Vegas has just been in. I'm still trying to get used to saying Las Vegas.
Not only that. Keep in mind they opened the Raiders Death Star this year, and the first team that played a live game in front of a crowd was UNLV, because the Raiders couldn't get it for the first 2 months.
Yeah.
Actually, the Raiders, I don't even know if they had fans in attendance.
I think it would be a different story in terms of being broke right now. I think it would be a different story had there not been a pandemic and they were able to get revenue from
Jared. They've been broke for a while. Like their move was financed on a gigantic loan that was taken out by Mark Davis.
Mm-hmm.
That's a screwed up franchise.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's a whole ass mess. But in terms of roster construction, I mean, until they decided to bring back 38-year-old Richie Incognito, 4 of their 5 offensive linemen from last year were projected to not be there by their own doing. And I mentioned that Trent Brown didn't really work out with the Raiders, but jeez. I mean, good luck Derek Carr. They're going to David Carr Derek now. He's just going to get destroyed back there.
Yeah.
Because it's not like Mayock's been really good at this whole drafting thing. Damon Arnett in round 1.
He was a good NFL draft analyst. That's about it.
Cleveland Ferrell.
Look, in all fairness to Mayock, he's had 2 drafts. We genuinely don't know the full story about most of these guys yet. I think we can all agree.
That's shocking.
Okay, so let's break it down. Okay, Cleveland Ferrell, he was overdrafted. That's fair. I don't think he was that overdrafted. I had him projected to go around like 15. You take him at 4. Okay. Do I like it? No. Do I get it?
Maybe.
Sure. Okay. Jonathan Abram, the guy feels like he gets a targeting call every 5 minutes. Like his rookie season, he had the torn labrum. It stinks. He was fine, I guess, last year. Josh Jacobs is legit, but he's also a running back you took in round 1. Considering where that team was, I understand it. And he had so little tread on the tires.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little more justifiable. Last year, Henry Ruggs was the cog in the machine that helped that offense work. He didn't get a lot of targets, but there's a reason why Nelson Aguilar got a $26 million contract, and his name is Henry Ruggs. Ruggs opened up the field for him, for Darren Waller, and his presence alone helped make that offense run. Damon Arnett was a questionable one.
I want to say this about Ruggs real quick. The fact that defenses were that scared of Ruggs as a rookie, and they were forcing to cover Ruggs, double team him as a rookie because of his speed, and opening up for other receivers to get paydays this offseason. That's how special of a player Ruggs is. That just goes to show how much respect NFL defenses have for Henry Ruggs.
Yeah.
I can't wait for Henry Ruggs this upcoming season.
In a dynasty league, I traded Henry Ruggs and I traded Herbert and Tyler Lockett for Henry Ruggs and 2 picks. And I need Henry Ruggs to hit. Otherwise, I'm gonna cry every time I face Herbert for the next decade. It's okay. I've got pick 2, so that means I'm going to get either Fields or Lawrence. So I'll be fine.
You got Damon Arnett as well as a
that Arnett pick just made no. I had a day 3 grade on him. So
I think here's the thing with Arnett. Arnett is good. He's not great, and I wonder And we all know that the league values things way differently than we do. It's just fact. You heard Ben Albright come out and say that Caleb Farley is probably too high in your mock draft, which makes me worry he's going to go day 2, which when I watch the tape, I don't understand how he could go day 2. I really don't. I think he has Revis Island type ceiling. He's only played the position. He's only played the position 2 years, and he's already better than Patrick Surtain, who's played it his whole life. Because Patrick Surtain's dad was a stud in the league for a decade. Like you have those little nuances. Like I just don't get it, and I think that correlates a lot with Arnett, because when you talk about Damon Arnett, he was a good player. He was a senior at a really good school, and his athletic testing was fine. And I feel like he felt like a safe pick. Like I don't think this guy's ever going to be great, but I don't think he's going to be bad. I'm just going to take the safe player right now. And I think that's why Arnett ended up going where he did, because he went right after AJ Terrell, who a lot of people felt was overdrafted too. But considering it was Dan Quinn still and the system he was drafted to, the pick made a little bit more sense. So you kind of like, hey, just it's fine. Like we can justify it because of the fit. And one of the tough parts is like Jared, Nick, Mike, when you guys look at your boards, you're looking at just player numbers and values.
Yeah.
Let's say you have 300 guys on your board. Well, the Cardinals passed on this guy. He was number 5 on my board, and the Cardinals passed on him at 16. This makes no sense. The Cardinals may not have that guy on their board because he's not a fit for what they want to do. And I think that's the difference between how we view it and how teams view it. Their boards are usually 100 to 120 guys, and then they have like a side pot almost of guys like, hey, if this guy is here at this spot, we have to take him because he's too talented. I don't care about the scheme. So there are those little nuanced details, and I think we have to understand that as guys who cover this and are aspiring to grow in this media landscape. And it's tough because I wouldn't have taken Arnett, but I get it.
Yeah, because I don't know. These last couple of days, and you broke it down so eloquently at the beginning, because it is really simple with why the Raiders are doing this. They are just flat broke.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of have to do whatever they can, but it's not going to be. They're not going to be good this year. They can't be. There's no way. They're not going to have enough. Carr's not going to have enough time.
Imagine
to get the ball out.
Being broke. Couldn't be me. Couldn't be me. Couldn't be the Carolina Panthers. Couldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody's owner is worth $12 billion and operates a hedge fund and paid for the team in straight cash.
Straight cash, homie. Yeah, David Tepper is disgustingly rich.
It's nice to have a rich owner, you know?
Yeah, given what your previous owner did. Never mind.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
Moving on to literally anything else.
So I have something I like. Seattle trading for Gabe Jackson. Listen, like I kind of throw Seattle in the same like vein as like Cincinnati in the sense that I get pissed at them every year because they never like invest into the offensive line, at least in a way I think was admirable. I mean, Jermaine Ifedi didn't work out for them. They've been kind of throwing picks at the position that really haven't panned out, or just players in general.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Damian Lewis pick last year. From what I understand, he played fairly well as a rookie. So going out and getting Gabe Jackson is, I think, is fantastic.
Yeah.
Something I wish Cincinnati would, adopt, even though I'm not a Bengals fan, and it might sound weird coming from a Ravens fan, but every year I get pissed at Cincinnati for like literally doing like nothing reasonable or substantial to address their offensive line issues. So it's nice to see like someone like Seattle is kind of trying to be proactive in that way.
Realizing, hey, we have a star quarterback here that struggled with a good offensive line when he was on pace for MVP numbers and could have won league MVP if it weren't for his offensive struggles. And yeah, sure, some of the faults of that offense were Russell Wilson, but protecting your star quarterback, a superstar quarterback like Russell Wilson, any quarterback for that matter, you have to give them protection. Young quarterbacks especially, so then they can have a better trajectory in terms of their career path. You know, we saw with Justin Herbert over the last few days where the Chargers are making an effort of adding more and better talent on that offensive line. We're seeing it other places too. We're seeing it with Kansas City. They lost quite a few guys, but then they added more talent. They added Joe Thuney, you know? So a priority for most teams, especially ones in rebuilds, Carolina, your priority after getting your star quarterback should be to protect him with this good of an offensive line as you can possibly make. Simple as that.
Mm-hmm. I think your biggest thing with the Seahawks isn't necessarily the offensive line. It's the offense. The offense is mundane. Pete Carroll's falling victim to the same thing Mike Zimmer is.
Agree with that.
I want to run the ball. I want to run the ball. I want to run the ball.
And when you're done running the ball, run the ball some more.
It's overrated.
It's one thing if you want to run the ball and run play action boots constantly with Kirk Cousins. I can understand that. He's not your traditional drop back passer. He never will be that, and that's fine. You can win with that. But you have Russell Wilson, who is unarguably a top 5 quarterback in the National Football League, and he throws a beautiful deep ball. Albeit he does feel a little gun shy in the pocket sometimes and just waits too long and then tries to play hero ball and just run around. Does that a little too often for my liking. And I can understand that criticism, but you have to develop an offense that maximizes Russell Wilson. Seahawks haven't done that. They haven't tried to do that. It's Pete Carroll being a stubborn old man. And I just feel for Russ because he's kind of getting wasted.
Joe Brady, future Seattle Seahawks head coach. Saying this as a Panthers fan that still wants to have him for the next 10 years, you know?
You're lucky you get him for year 2.
True. Yeah. Very true.
Yeah, good luck holding on to him long term. All right. We've now gone through 3 days of free agency? 3 days, right?
3 days.
This is day 3.
What do you guys expect to happen in day?
Is Russ going to get traded? Is my big thing. Like Russ, Deshaun, is one of them happening?
Deshaun's going to get traded. I for 2 reasons. One, you don't pay Tyrod Taylor upwards of $14.5 million with incentives if you're not going to. And 2, if John McClain, the Houston Chronicles, says something's going to happen with a Houston franchise, it's going to happen. John McClain is the most plugged in person, I think, in the league with any one team than he is with Houston.
And he pointed out today that they hadn't mentioned since January that they weren't going to trade him. And the moves, I mean, the signings don't make sense. So, of course, it's going to happen.
Yes. I'll be done in a minute.
What I expect in day 2 is possibly more trades. Juju gets signed. Kenny Golladay gets signed overnight, more than likely, I think. Either that's with the Giants or even with the Bengals. I expect that to happen. If not that, it happens in day 5. But also, guys, I'll be spending a good portion of the day tomorrow watching on HBO Max Zack Snyder's Justice League. 4 hours, 2 minutes long. That's going to be a blast. I'm watching spurts. Man. Oh, Friday.
Yeah, I got a group of friends who want to get together. Yeah.
The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We're hyped, boys. Hyped.
I have almost 60 players on my watch list, so I will be focusing on that.
I only have final reports for 40 guys, so I have a lot of work to do.
I'm behind. Let's just say that. I got school going on. Dante's behind as well. He said that in the chat earlier. So shout out to Dante. We hope to have you back on soon. Maybe even tomorrow night if we're doing this again tomorrow night. So guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.